The St. Louis Blues make a sneaky signing, bringing back a key prospect that has a bright future as Doug Armstrong continues building this team within, and he has a huge decision to make with this one key detail on this contract having huge implications on his future. We're going to break down everything from this player, his contract, and exactly why things could get interesting on his deal and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you haven't hit that sub button yet, we're trying to reach our goal of 4,000 subscriber Blues fans. You've been awesome supporting us. We're trying to reach our goal. It's completely free, and in return, we'll give you updates from all around the team during this offseason into next year. Well, that, Darius, let's just hop straight into the first topic today, where we did see they did make a signing on a key player for Springfield last year, Nikita Alexandrov. Now, with this contract, a one-year deal, two-way contract, some people might disregard this right away, but there is one key detail which we're going to break down in this contract that could make things very interesting. Now, before getting to that, we know the one-year deal, $775K to keep him with Springfield. You can see on the screen and a little teaser towards it, the UFA Group 6 status, which we're going to break down for you a little later on in this episode. But he was super productive in the AHL and had some stints with the St. Louis Blues this past season. 49 points in 48 games, including scoring 21 goals. Darius, what is your thoughts on his development? And we'll get into how he could be a dark horse to break into this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can see there last season with the Springfield Thunderbirds, obviously over a point a game player. So put in a great season. Didn't have any NHL time last season specifically, but he has had stints in the NHL. And I think that's where this contract actually gets very interesting because he hasn't put up that many points at the NHL level. He looks like a very good AHL level player. Like he is one of their most productive players at that level in the development system. And he's still relatively young, right? He's like 24 years old, still considered a prospect to some people, I guess, not me personally, but they signed him. This is a low risk deal, but it's very interesting. So obviously a one-year deal, it's a two-way contract, so he can come up to the NHL if need be. The thing that I think is interesting, not just with the specifics of the contract, get to that in a second, is they're bringing in another player that I think, and retaining another player that I think is going to make things interesting in training camp. I think it's going to be there's going to be a lot of competition in training camp, which I think is going to push some of the younger players like this, for example, and even, Carbonneau, who we've been talking about, to another level to see if they can make the team. And I think having that healthy competition is going to make the team better. And we're going to see some players that are going to rise above some adversity in training camp and maybe surprise and make the team, which I think is exciting for Blues fans. It's not, status quo. You're looking at the Puckpedia lines or anything, and that's the way the line is going to be, or the lineup is going to be, right? So I think that's exciting. The other thing, like you mentioned, he's a Group 6 UFA at the end of this year. So depending on a couple, things in his contract, he could become a UFA. He could actually stay an RFA. So if he plays roughly 30 games in the NHL this year, then he will become a UFA next offseason. If he plays less than that, which keep in mind, he never really has played more than that at the NHL level. If he doesn't, then obviously they retain his rights as an RFA. So pretty interesting, very low risk, contract for the St. Louis Blues making this. And he has been one of their best productive younger players in the system in the AHL.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Listen, we want all these young guys to flourish, jump into the lineup exactly when they're ready. But it does get very interesting. Like you said, if he hits the 80-game plateau in his total games played at the age of 25, which he will be at the end of next season, he will become a UFA, which is something that Doug Armstrong probably wants to avoid on a young player that's still 24. You want his rights going into the following season. But that does not stop the fact that he was one of, and the second most productive player in Springfield last year. You can see Pekka there with 31 goals. He fell second with 21. You can see Dvorsky just behind him. It's a very bright future within the system, not only on the team with Snuggerud and company, but also in the AHL as they're working their way in to join this NHL team. But it does get very interesting. Listen, we're looking at a Blues team that can still add more depth scoring. We've seen last season, this is total stats from last year. That's why you're still seeing Brown and Saad there. But the big thing is a guy like Sundqvist making $1.5 million. Maybe you want to move on from a contract like this if he's ready to jump within the lineup. Yes, it is hard to go out and keep up the 21 goal scoring from AHL straight into the NHL. But Darius, looking at this, if the Blues have a bigger picture, if they want to go out and spend 8 or 9 million on a select player, and I'm not going to say there's someone in mind, but if they want to get a player, could you see if this is the type of player in Nikita ready to break through that Doug Armstrong would be a little more comfortable with him, Carbonneau, Dvorsky, all these young guys coming up to move on from some of these depth contracts that could be holding the way?
I think so, but you also have to think of the other side of things where some of the players on the main roster play a role. So if you look at Alexandrov in the minors, and keep in mind too, if you can bring up those stats for a second from last season, the total stats, he played a lot less games than some of the other guys. So obviously he had a fantastic season. Dvorsky, we know what he's going to be. He's going to be unbelievable. Underrated too. Matt left there on, on the list. We covered him in a previous video as well. He signed a contract extension to stay with the organization. So keep in mind that some of the guys on the team that a lot of fans are very ready to trade away in terms of like, they've been on the third line and the fourth line. They play a specific role. A lot of these guys like Dvorsky are a scorer. So if you bring him up to the NHL and you're like, hey, we're going to staple you to the fourth line center position for whatever reason, right? Maybe he doesn't find that much success because he's not going to be playing that much. He's not playing the role that he should be. So I think that a lot of fans sometimes are a little too quick to maybe move off of some of these players. I do think that they do have too many players to a degree that come training camp, they're going to make some moves. I do think there's more trades coming both this offseason and once training camp starts, because as you can see here, there's a bit of a logjam in a lot of positions here, but that's again not a bad thing heading into training camp. And keep in mind, like you brought up, if you want to go out and get a big fish still or something, or spend some money, they do have a lot of cap space once the season begins with that LTIR relief from Torrey Krug as well.
And I think that's the biggest thing. We're going to see a healthy battle, which is really good to see coming into camp. We know Carbonneau is looking like he's ready, but if he's ready, it's going to be decided when camp comes around this fall. There's also guys like Dvorsky that we've seen on this list that's going to make a fight to make this camp. Nikita is someone that put up 49 points in 48 games. Like you said, a lot less games than anyone else on this list, so he has been very productive. But you don't want to force a prospect that could get more time in the queue or in the minors to go out, play fourth line minutes, getting 9 minutes a night. It doesn't help with their development. But one last question for you. This is the team, listen, we know how good they've got. They've added great talent all around the lineup. But if there was a position, say that third line right wing, was to open up, do you think he has the edge over guys like Carbonneau because of him already playing on North American ice in professional systems? Or do you think Dvorsky might be the one because of raw talent and just joining an organization being one of their top prospects?
Dvorsky, to me, I think is one of the best prospects in the entire system. So I think that it's probably Dvorsky, but you bring up a good point about Alexandrov and that he could be more ready. He's played more time in the AHL, like he's more pro ready. He's actually put up a ton of points and been playing that role for Springfield. So I would give the edge to the two guys who are more experienced and been playing pro hockey already. But keep in mind, Carbonneau is a great young player and has looked fantastic in development camp. We've been breaking that down, but again, that's in development camp. I'm excited to see, how he's going to prepare himself for main camp and the impact that he has. Because, if you're a young guy coming in, if you have one good game in camp or you have a good camp, that's cool, right? But you need to be consistent. So I think Doug Armstrong's looking for that. So I would lean towards the two guys that have more experience, or really anyone in the system that has more experience. And in terms of trades, you'd have it up here. Matthew Joseph, we've talked about it in a previous video, makes quite a bit of money to be in that role, right? So I think if they are going to look at trading anyone, and listen, Matthew Joseph can come in and have an insane training camp, look amazing, and that he's going to play a great role for this team and they'll keep him, right? It's really all up to training camp, I think. But I think he is the guy with that cap hit that they're going to look at like, okay, we're probably going to keep you for now, but you might be expendable when the time comes.
And I think there's going to be a huge decision to make with this organization going into preseason camp. Everything above. What your guys' thoughts on this? Would you like to see one of the prospects? What is your thoughts on this contract? Do you think they should bring him straight into the NHL, hit the 30 game, and let him become a UFA? Or would you rather leave him in Springfield to hold his rights as an RFA next year? Let us know down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.